You are listening to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all the latest news, Overwatch League results, and mishaps in Overwatch. Here are your hosts, Totemly Drunk and Edinar.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things Overwatch. I am your host, Totemly Drunk, and tonight on episode 190, we're going to let you know everything that has been going down this past week in Overwatch within the community, as well as the competitive scene. Before we can get into the news and introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show. And of course, I have to thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight, as always, still in, holiday spirits, is my co-host, Ednar. Ed, Winter Wonderland might be here. We might have a new, air quote, game mode to play, or not play, if you're us.
Right.
But there's actually been a lot of stuff going on within the community, and, a little bit on the esports side this past week, too, as a whole. So, despite it being, off-season, there is no shortcoming of happenings just around the game in itself, and, of course, the community. But I want to know, how has this past week been treating you?
It's been pretty good. It's pretty hectic still. I do move in, like I've talked about, in 2 days. So it's a lot of final things going for that. I had my family's Christmas. Meanwhile, getting the Overwatch skins, playing Hearthstone, playing Apex. It's been very hectic. But overall, it's been great. I can't really complain. I said last week on the show that we would start off with another list that I would not tell you about. And we're going to right now. Yep. It's only going to be top 3.
Oh, jeez. You're gonna... Okay.
Top 3 favorite obscure Christmas songs.
Okay.
Okay. And obscure can mean really anything. Not many people know about it. It's not on the radio all the time, and stuff like that. So,
okay.
Do I feel like you want me to go first?
Yeah, Okay, hold on. I'm trying to think of what I would come up with. I know of a few things. I don't know if I could come up with 3 though.
Okay. All right. So I'll start it off now. Now, these are not 2 of them are not that obscure or funny or anything, but number 3, It Feels Like Christmas from the Muppet Christmas Carol. That's the song the Big Jolly Guy sings.
Okay.
And then they sing it again at the end. Number 2, I'm going with... I combined it into one because it's from the same singer. So it's from Bing. It's Melikaliki Maka and Christmas in Killarney. And number 1, and this is a very weird song. I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
Okay. That is overplayed at our house.
Want a hippopotamus for Christmas. So, those would be my 3 obscure Christmas songs. What would yours be, Totem?
Jeez. Okay, I'm trying to think here. Because I don't want to do repeats of what you said. Okay, so one that definitely comes to mind for me is Christmas Island. That was by the Andrews Sisters. That was kind of like a... It's been so long since I've heard this one, but that's a really old song. I think that dates back to the 50s. Outside of that... Ooh, I'm trying to think if I should go unconventional in regards to the album.
It can be anything. I would even allow the theme song to Die Hard.
Well, I know there was a Christmas adaptation based on Bohemian Rhapsody, which was Christmas Rhapsody by Pledge Drive. That would be on my list. So there's two. What the third one would be, I have no freaking idea. Okay, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember the name of the song. Hold on.
Who sings it? Do you know who sings it? Is it Father Christmas?
No. I'm trying to remember who originally sung it. It might have been Master P, but he did Christmas in the Ghetto. That would be another one.
I almost went with DMX singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That was another classic.
That would be another rap option.
Yes.
So those would be my three.
All right, fair enough.
Anything outside of that, I'd just be like, Dead Air? Yeah.
Don't worry. Weird Ed Stories will be back in the new year. After Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So how's your week been, Totem?
It's been pretty good, actually, playing quite a bit. Battlegrounds, I got the first weekly done in regards to Winter Wonderland for the weekly challenge. I actually streamed like 23 matches on ladder in Hearthstone yesterday, playing nothing but Face Hunter. We went 18-5, so I went from basically 20 to rank 11, just completely annihilating every rogue that was thrown our way, because I beat them in all 10 games that I played against rogue. So that was pretty fun. And still, dabbling in, Pokemon Shield as well. But, we got a big Hearthstone patch coming tomorrow, with a couple of balance updates, both for regular Hearthstone as well as the Battlegrounds, which, of course, we'll be covering this week on Tavern Tales. But across the board, it's been a pretty eventful week. Pretty happy with my results, even though I was kind of just, dicking around on, the Hearthstone ladder. But it's kind of nice knowing that I only dropped one game out of 15 against two of the more common classes so far in this expansion.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting time for the new Hearthstone expansion, as it is every time there's an expansion. We've definitely been playing a lot.
Yeah, I will note, though, since the change to Primal Fin Lookout in regards to Hearthstone Battlegrounds, the win rate across the tribes, in regards to, how I've been doing, has been more split. The only odd duckling out of that would be Demon builds, which I have not really been running at all, but I've had wins with Murloc, Beast, and Mech here as of late. But if you've looked at the Hearthstone patch notes, kind of one of the major fundamentals of any build is going away tomorrow. More on that later. We're here to talk about Overwatch, so let's jump into the news. So to start things off, there was a new wave of bans that were handed out to Overwatch players that were using a new hack program called Pentagon. Which is a tool that basically had allowed these players to do a number of things. They could see through walls, they could use aimbots, you were also able to auto-block enemy ultimates, and this hack was initially detected by the Overwatch Police Department, which has a pretty decent following in regards, to their Twitter. And that's basically this devoted anti-hacker crew that kind of works in parallel with Blizzard to, try to prevent cheating within the game. So basically, Overwatch PD shared a ton of screenshots in regards to the Discord from this program. With a bunch of people whining about getting banned, losing money, all of that stuff. But it also showed a shot of basically how much people were spending on this program. Which, they had a couple of different tiers in regards to, what functionalities you could be getting with the program. And, it was anywhere from $100 per month to $155, depending on, what tier you were at. Which, to me seems outlandish, even as someone who's, bought the game, 7 times. But, there's people out there spending more than that a month in some cases. But, Blizzard has been basically just keeping tabs on things. They've been detecting some new functions here as of late. that have basically been like redirecting projectiles to enemies regardless of like where the crosshair position is. I know there's like another script for like Maze Ice Wall that's been detected. So the PD has been really at the forefront of just trying to like expose like anything that's coming up, trying to detect these programs that have been running more rampant here as of late. But like, it's always nice to know like that there are crews out there that are kind of coincided with Blizzard just to bring these issues to the forefront, just because everyone wants to play the game and not feel cheated or have an opportune chance at winning whenever they are stepping into a ranked play.
I mean, like, I'm not surprised that there obviously are still cheats out there because every single game out there has cheats. It just happens. I mean, I play Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, a mobile game, and there's a rampant cheating problem there. So like every single game has cheats. But once I saw the price, and I'm like, if you're paying $155 a month to cheat at Overwatch, you do you. Like, I'm not even mad at them. Like, you know what? I'll wait for the next game. Like, don't even ban them. Like, if a company's making $155 a month off some dude, like, wanting to use auto aim, yeah, no, you do you. If you're willing to go that far, I'm just sitting here in quick play. I'll leave, queue up, and be back in 2 minutes. You pay your $155 a month. Like, that is ridiculous. Like, I love how they also had daily prices. Like, if you just wanted to spite someone that day, they're like, you know what? Screw you. I want to beat you all day. And then the next day, just be like, oh, yeah, no, there's nothing on my computer. You can go look. I don't have any aimbots or anything like that. But we haven't seen this big of a ban or this big of a wave of bans in a while for Overwatch. So, I mean, it's nice to know that they're still doing things because honestly, it doesn't feel like when you report anyone, or it doesn't even feel like I'm reporting as many people as before, which is a good thing. But $155 a month, holy crap! Like, you're buying 3 new copies of Overwatch every month to cheat. It's ridiculous. Go out, get a car payment. I don't know. The amount of money some people pump into these video games, and like, we won't know. Like, me and you can't fathom people really spending a crap load of money on video games, but there are a lot of people out there who do it. Right. And this is like nothing to them. Like, oh, $155, oh, that's nothing. Like I've said before, I met people who've spent tens of thousands of dollars on one game. So, I don't know. It seems weird and unfathomable to me, but holy crap on a cracker, Batman. That's a lot. I love how like their Pentagon even has their own Discord server.
Yeah. Well, they gotta let everyone know that their account is safe, and they're gonna do their best to protect them, and that everyone's just going under.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they got the money,
As long as they got the money. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, they'll be banned, and then they'll be back up on a different account in a week or whatever. So, but get them out while you can.
Absolutely, because I mean, usually when we're hearing about like ban waves, it's usually from like Korea, for the most part.
Yeah,
outside of that, it's
Korea.
Been more quiet on that front. But of course, we are currently in the middle of Winter Wonderland, and with any new patch, of course, there has to be some new bug that was introduced into the game. unfortunately, Ed, it also happens to be from one of the meta characters currently, the Antichrist herself.
Yeah, May is not meta. May is the freaking devil and can rot in hell.
Well, May is still meta at this point. But anyway,
No.
what's happening, Ed?
You would
What's happening?
No. Like, we're going back to that. You would never allow me to get away with that joke.
See,
And
but you're not moderating.
You're not allowed to get away with that.
Yep, but people are getting away with using their ice wall to tilt, perspectives of players within the game. We're just moving on, as per usual. Like when I would just dead stare at you whenever you do something stupid.
Well, see, the thing is, people have come to expect stupid things from you. They don't expect stupid things from you.
That's not true.
They expect less.
This is from someone who released a Overwatch rep, totally tilted. I'm pretty sure people know by now.
Oh yeah,
that was the thing with the MC battle. But anyways, as I was saying, there's a bug that was introduced in patch 1.43 that honestly it has people tilting their heads because of how it changes the perspective of the player in play. So basically, like an ice wall comes out, and this bug causes heroes to have the ability to fly, but they're kind of like tilted. So, it changes their point of view, it changes, just how the game is played as a whole. So it just disrupts normal gameplay and can be used also as a way of trolling your teammates, which has been more common in some of the Overwatch streams here as of late. Now I do want to note that the lead software engineer, William Warnock, has stated that the devs do in fact know about this. They do have a fix that is in the works. I do not believe it has been rolled out to live servers here as of yet. But, if you've been, paying attention to, like, breaking barriers that just happens, a lot of the meme teams were talking about the May bug, and there's a lot of, clips out there, a lot of GIFs on that end. But, it's just one of those things where when you see it, you're just like, is that really happening? Like, what's going on?
I wonder if they sing R. Kelly when they're in the air. Like they're just like, I believe I can fly.
That's only on someone that isn't like Farrah or Mercy. Probably.
True. Yeah, like Reinhardt's like I could just now I'm just picturing like Reinhardt's voice in my head. I believe I can fly.
So the real question is,
I need this to happen.
Would Lucio even be able to sound barrier at any point?
Hopefully not.
Like, how would he get back down? It's not like it's Willy Wonka. He can't just, like, burp to, like, descend,
Is there anyone else that it would affect negatively? Reinhardt's Shatter. He'd never be able to land a Shatter.
Yeah. I mean, it would be harder to get, any sort of value out of a Dragon Blade.
Diva Bomb? Maybe. It depends on how high you are. Doomfist ult would not be that good. I think. Mercy's ult. Mercy, your ult, you can fly. Lottie frickin' da.
Well, that's just when you go Pistol Mercy at that point.
But wait, that's what you do even outside this exploit.
I mean, that's what I do. It's not what every Mercy does.
Well, that's what every Mercy should do.
Yeah. Take out the glory for yourself.
Yeah, screw the rest of the people. But, yeah, I mean, it's a fun, interesting little bug. I mean, you're not going to get banned if you do it. They're going to fix it. So on and so forth. So try it while you can.
Yeah, it's still no like Frankenstein bug, like way back in the day.
I'm waiting for that one bug that is so game breakingly and awesome that like they have to like patch it immediately, and you only get like an hour of it. before they have to patch it. Like, I'm thinking back to, this is World of Warcraft, like the Lich King, when during the invasion, like the pre-expansion release, where like you could put the plague on everyone, even friendly characters, and like you'd walk into Stormwind and everyone would be dead. I want something like that. It's only up for like 2 hours, but it's pure chaos in those 2 hours. I want one of those bugs, because those are always the fun ones. I want to see the world burn. That's basically what I'm going to. Yeah, I want to see the world burn, because I feel that would be fun.
Okay, Joker.
Like, if you pick May in a competitive match, it's an automatic loss. Just brings up the defeat screen.
Or like, Ice Block causes you to just fall underneath the map, so you're descending back down to hell.
That's a good one. Or when you're, or what would be a fun one? Oh, any shield or barrier now also builds ultimate, so it's just ultimates left and right. That would be a fun. That's a bug that could actually happen.
I don't know if the barriers would be up long enough to really warrant that much of an ult percentage.
You'd be like, all right,
I got 3%.
Diva Roadhog. Diva Roadhog. Screw you guys.
So
bullets travel through all buildings.
Yeah.
Soldier would actually be good.
It'd be almost like Scatter Arrow, like all over again.
Right? I'm just picturing something on like Hanamura when their offense is coming through the choke point and you're on defense and there's the little wall before the choke point and like Soldier's just like, ha ha ha, I see you on the other side of this wall, and just start spraying through the wall and there's nothing they can do. Again, I want to see the world burn.
So outside of that, there's also been a couple of workshop updates here as of late. Probably the most notable one being for the practice range. That saw a new update, and this one is from PMA Jellies. So Jellies has done quite a bit actually with this update for 2.0. He added a jump pad, which gives players access to some additional high ground. Where you can get to a new area that has, like, in-common, like, some metro turrets, so you can get, like, some smaller target practice on that front. They also added character models as well as, like, set-type movements. So that would include things like, Widowmakers doing, like, their grapple animation. There's also Pharaohbots that are, like, flying around in the sky. You have Reapers that are, like, teleported in. Which, honestly, like, you probably don't really need too much practice on that, because you still have a decent amount of time to, turn and shoot at that point. But, what's unique about this mode in particular for the practice range is that you're actually able to use your interact key to do, select things. Like, you're actually able to get nano boosted by using the interact key, so you can practice, your Grandma Goggles, so your Nano Boost Tactical Visor, you can practice your Genji Blades, all of that good stuff. And outside of that, you could also place things like a Baptiste, so you can use the Amplification Matrix, as well as a Mercy to use as a pocket. And there's also a way for you to earn a free ult, as well, so, like, you don't have to, like, build it up. So, that's good on that front, too. This is, like, one of the better modes to actually be doing whenever you are using, the newer While You Wait feature, that was introduced with patch 1.43. But I want to get your thoughts on this, because obviously, like, over, the course of time, we really haven't seen a ton of updates to, the regular practice range. Like, they've added, like, the bots, like, waving back to you, like, I can't remember if there was, like, anything else beyond that, but it's still pretty bare bones, and there's a lot more going on with this one, so, when you have enough time to, do other stuff, in between games and you're looking to warm up, like, is this something that you'd actively be using?
Actually, yeah, because like you're going to start seeing probably more of this is more of the practice type of game modes coming out because of the while you wait function. Like now you don't like okay, now you don't have to go into death match or something like that. You can actually go in and practice stuff. I even now like when I'm queued for DPS, I usually just go into the practice range and screw around. But if this practice range is out there, I mean, I can just go out and use that and, have a little bit more functionality to it. So, yeah, this is something I'll probably use, but I do think you're going to see an uptick in practice type modes uh, coming out.
Yeah, so for those of you that do want to check out this custom game mode for the Practice Range 2.0, you can use the input code BTRZE. So, of course, outside of that, speaking of updates, if you listen to episode 189, you probably know, like, there was a PTR update that dropped, I want to say, like, it was during the main discussion this past week.
Yep, so it was while we were discussing the newest patch that just went live.
Okay. Yeah. So, this patch had dropped last Wednesday, that was on December 11th, and this was an update that was deployed on the public test realm. And, not a whole lot in this one, I'll be honest. There were a couple of updates to the spectator mode, as well as an option for party members to select multiple roles whenever you are in role queue. So, like, you're not just queuing for, like, one thing. You can actually, queue for everything if you choose to do so. Obviously, it's still gonna, queue you for things based off of, like, what your SR is. So if you're not eligible and there's too much of a differential, you'll be locked out from that role in regards to the queue in itself. So really not too much changes on that end, but, it does give the flex player options to those players whenever you are partied up on that end. And then outside of that, with the spectator mode, it was mostly new toggles that they had added in regards to, like, the third person point of view. I know one of them allowed you to change, like, what shoulder the camera was being placed on, while the other one kind of, like, toggles between two different third person camera modes. So probably not going to see a ton of use on that end, just because, like, I mean, you and I probably don't really use spectator mode all that often. But how are you feeling about having the option to essentially multi-queue in regards to the roles here?
No, I really like that because, like, when we do no, hey, when we do ranked, it's always like, okay, who wants to play DPS, who wants to play tank, who wants to play support, so on and so forth. Well, now we can just all queue up.
We all choose everything.
Yeah, now we can just choose everything and be like, you know what? It's not up to us.
Let the fates decide.
Let the fates decide. Be like, totems on tank, spiders on support, Ednar's on DPS. We're screwed. This is an automatic loss. But no, it's it's good for stuff like that. Like I was watching Tim the Tatman. I don't know if you guys have been watching him lately, but he's been playing a lot more Overwatch. And he like joins with players or people join with him, and they have to do like a lot of account swapping so people can actually queue together
to be eligible.
And it's just like this kind of helps alleviate some of that. So yeah, this is a really nice feature. I'm actually surprised it didn't come out when role queue first came out. Mm-hmm. Like it just seemed like kind of like a no-brainer. So it was only a matter of time before it got released.
Yeah, it seems like with this one, like this one's probably gonna get patched pretty quick. I can't imagine it's gonna be sitting on the PTR all that long, just because, like, for one, since there aren't any balance updates on the PTR, probably not too many people on the PTR, right? And, we're already talking about a very small percentage of the Overwatch player base as a whole, so there's really no reason to keep it there but it's just not seeing the use.
So this is good. Maybe we'll play some ranked. Probably not. But maybe.
I mean, I've been playing ranked. Hearthstone.
Oh, you have been? And Hearthstone? I've actually been playing quick play a lot and actually queuing up its DPS. Because I have better,
You have better luck when people aren't caring as much.
Well, like, I want to do arcade and stuff like that and get those loot boxes and get those wins, but honestly, I'm having better luck getting the wins playing DPS and quick play.
Okay.
So, because, like, all I do is I'm like, okay, I'm going to go either Reaper or Junkrat. And I'm going to... I had literally the most insane play where we got accused of cheating, but they're just idiots. So we were on...
We're not cheating, you're just stupid.
Yeah, exactly. So why do I always forget the name? It's the one where Winston lived on the moon.
Okay, Horizon Lunar Colony.
There we go, Horizon Lunar Colony. That one I always forget. So we were on...
That's because it's 2 CP.
We were on defense, point B, and right to the left of the point, there's like a little like rover or whatever, and there's a health pack, a small health pack right there. So I'm down there as Junkrat, and I don't realize it, but they all pushed low right-hand side. So right in front of me, like down the stairs, whatever. They're pushing in. They see me. They jump in. And it's me and a Moira versus 4 or 5 of them. And I'm like, it's an enclosed space. Like, it's not enclosed like on all sides, but you have the thing above you. You have the car to the side of you. I'm literally just lobbing grenades left and right, and the Moira's throwing out the healing orb, keeping me up, and we wipe out the entire team kill. And they're like, oh, there was something fishy about that. I'm like, no, you went into an enclosed space with a Junkrat. You're an idiot. Like, don't come into an enclosed space with a Junkrat. You're gonna lose it. And I felt good. I haven't been called a cheater in a while. Since I was paying $155 a month. I mean, I've never paid.
No.
Awkward.
And even if you did, like, I don't think you'd be at the SR that you're at.
Yeah, no.
Otherwise, you're just not paying enough money, apparently.
Yeah, no one who plays with me is like, yeah, he cheats. And be like, maybe he should start cheating. So, yeah. But I like the roll queue. I'm surprised it wasn't out earlier.
Absolutely. So, moving into this week's hot community topics, we got a little bit going on in regards to the Path to Pro scene. About probably one of the, academy teams out there who has moved or, promoted or sold off the most talent, of course, that being from Uprising Academy, who have been making, so some good moves. Like, it's actually, like, some of the names that they picked up here as of late were general head turners for me. I was like, okay, like, I can respect that. Which is weird, right? Like, we've always had this stigma with Boston as a whole, where we're just like, okay, they're going to some, lesser represented regions, not really paying heavily for their players on, either side, and it's just like, it's just Boston things. And then here they go, and they sign Dragon Eddie, who had competed on Samsung Morning Stars the past couple of years. Where, his best finish lately here was during the Angry Cup, where they took first place. But Samsung Morning Stars has kind of been, kind of all over the place in EU. They did take a top 4 finish in the last season of Contenders back in 2018. But, this is the second off-tank currently listed on the Uprising Academy roster, alongside Mufin, who is also on a 2-way contract, with the main roster of Boston Uprising. Now, outside of that, Ed, they also went out and they picked up another main tank in Rhino, who just came off of a top 4 finish at the NCS Grand Finals. And this is, one of the young prodigies in the competitive Overwatch scene. He's only 13 years old. And, right now, he's going to be the youngest player to compete in Contenders North America. The only other person to join, the competitive scene at that level at 13 was our boy Sugar Free.
Sugar Free!
Who, by the way, just turned 15. I got a shout out from Atlanta on that end. So
It's getting so close.
Three more years, Ed. Just imagine we got 3 more years until Chicago picks him up for the inevitable Chicago Overwatch League team. It's gonna happen.
Yes.
And then, a little bit after that, we'll also get Rhino. We gotta keep the young blood coming. But, it's really curious, seeing a lot of the young talent coming in here. Now, I do want to note, Rhino is also the second main tank listed on the Academy roster. They also picked up, I honestly don't know how to pronounce this. I'm assuming it's Krondop, who joined the team here in November. But, Rhino has been a name who, if you've watched Seagull at all playing Overwatch, Seagull is a massive fan of this kid, because he always seems to perform on the ladder, so this is a great opportunity for him. But at the end of the day, I want to get your thoughts more so on young talent entering, the competitive scene at this level at such a young age, because, right now looking at it, Sugar Free, he just turned 15. Rhino still has, some more time before, he hits college, continue studies, if he chooses to do that. But do you see a situation in this case where players like Rhino or Sugar Free are basically going to be competing until they are eligible for collegiate esports, and just pursuing full scholarships and then just continuing from there? Or do you feel like they're just going to stay put and continue to develop in that tier 2 scene right now?
Well, all right. I'm very leery of these young signings. Like with even Sugar Free or, with Rhino and stuff like that. I'm very leery of this. Like, Rhino's 13 and he signed on to be a professional Overwatch player. Yes, he's very good. And, a lot of these top streamers, a lot of these pro players rave about him. Kid's not even, I don't even think at 13 you're in high school or you're about to become a freshman in high school. 8th graders should not be pro athletes,
Okay.
esport or not. That is my opinion. I would say maybe when you get a little bit older, maybe 15, 16, that's fine, because you start seeing them in the Olympics and stuff like that. You become some of these young athletes. 13 is a bit young for me. Okay, I'll get that out of the way. As far as it comes to college, I could see them kind of going 50-50 on this. When you get the elite players, like you're talking Sugar Free, you're probably talking Rhino if they survive that long. Because, let's be real, will Rhino really be into Overwatch in 5 years?
That's
We
true.
don't know.
There is a ton of turnover, but it's also like a different perspective too, just because obviously collegiate esports as a whole is continuing to grow. We're seeing more and more colleges out there offering scholarships in regards to esports, but there also hasn't been someone at the level that they're currently on a team that is also funded by an Overwatch League franchise, also trying to compete at, the collegiate level either. So, it would be a first in both cases, essentially.
Yeah, and this is something that will come to fruition probably in 10 to 20 years. Because right now, we don't, esports leagues don't have to truly deal with, these people going to college to play esports instead of going pro. Because let's be real, how many esports organizations or college programs are there that, really necessitate having something kind of like a draft.
Hmm.
Like, there's not enough Overwatch esport collegiate teams out there that are drawing interest, where the Overwatch League will have drafts of college athletes, which kind of forces them to go uh into the pros or into college and stuff like that. That might be something 10, 20 years down the road, but right now there's nothing stopping these kids going at 18, going into contenders and doing stuff like that. Now, what they could do is they could go complete Major League Baseball type of situation, where they have the age restriction in baseball. Now, you have to play at least 18 to play in Major League Baseball. You don't get many 18-year-olds that play baseball professionally right away. But you have a draft where you can draft high schoolers or college players in the same draft. But a lot of the high schoolers have to show a lot more talent than the college players to get drafted, because they're not as skilled or seasoned and stuff
Right.
like
They're
that.
not as developed.
Exactly. Now, again, this is all stuff that will come much farther down the line when there's a union, when there's all those talks go on. This is not something that's going to happen in the next 2-3 years. It won't even happen when Rhino is eligible to play. I mean, who knows if the Overwatch League will still be around? But the trend is going towards esports becoming a major thing.
Hmm.
So colleges will start getting into it, which brings the NCAA into it. There's so many ways that this could go, and I don't know how it's good, how it will work.
Hmm. Will definitely be something to keep an eye on here in the upcoming years. But like we have seen like collegiate esports airing on TV even in years past with whatever the heck they named like the Tosinos Overwatch one. I remember there was a really long title for that. But I've known they've done that like I think twice at this point. So outside of that, speaking of competitive esports news, we had someone new signing on with Overwatch League in regards to being the official voice chat used for live league games, and this is going to be going on for the next 3 years. So this is through 2022, and that was Teamspeak entering the fold on this front. So this has been a voice IP that has been around since October of 2001. Now, this was really like one of the first apps that were being used in regards to like online game communities, just to communicate in game. And what's interesting about this has been the public reaction on social media here, because everyone that I have talked to has basically had this. They're like, Teamspeak? Really? That's still
I
around?
didn't realize it was still around.
Okay, so, we talked about this on Monday, but I know for me, it's been at least 10 years since I have used Teamspeak. I don't know how long it's been for you, Ed, on that front, but, like, it's definitely going back a ways. Do you know the last time you had used Teamspeak, or even the last time you remember anyone even mentioning Teamspeak?
Firelands Raid Cataclysm World of Warcraft.
Okay.
I don't know when that was, but I remember like having to plug in and having to ask what they use.
Mm-hmm.
And if they said Teamspeak, be like, crap on a cracker. Because I hated Teamspeak.
So it wasn't one that at the time you actively used.
Yeah, because it went from Teamspeak to Ventrilo or
Right.
Vent. And Vent was the more popular one. And then you were kind of stuck between Teamspeak and Vent.
Mm-hmm.
And then Discord came along and made things
there were a couple of things kind of like in between. Like there was Mumble.
Skype. People tried to use Skype.
Skype didn't really work too well on that front.
No, it's a lot of it is about the limitations on how many people you can have. I know they said with TeamSpeak you can only have 32 people.
Right.
Well, you know what? That's great for on stage, like for the teams, but like it doesn't hold a candle to Discord. But the thing is Discord doesn't need to advertise itself like TeamSpeak does.
So basically, the way that you were taking this is it's more of a reach for credibility on TeamSpeak's behalf. It's
like Blockbuster trying to advertise when Netflix and Redbox are destroying them. They're like, all right, we're gonna go with a Hail Mary here, and let's try and see if this works. And if it doesn't, we're closing the doors. Like, it is just literally a Hail Mary pass. So, but Overwatch League got more sponsorship, got more money, can put more into production. Hopefully more into production. Fingers crossed, more into production. But yeah, I mean, this is great for the league. It just, the memes wrote themselves.
I'm pretty sure most of that money is going towards like Custa's hair products.
Ooh.
And that's what it's gonna be.
No. That's where they use Bren's hair products budget and just gave it to Custa.
Oh, okay.
Bren just shaves everything now, so he doesn't need it.
Right. Yeah, so, like, for me, like, I am just curious to see whether or not that means that TeamSpeak will be all over, like, the mic check segment that was, pretty prominent here, this past season. But, like, the thing with this, it was just, like, I see a lot of people bringing up the fact that they're like, well, this is Overwatch League just basically saying that the in-game client voice chat is just absolute shit, which is one of the stupidest things I think people can think right now, because it's just like, they're paying you to use their service, right? Like, and, obviously, TeamSpeak is always going on about, like, their level of encryption and how secure everything is. I can't really speak too much on, like, what sort of, latency issues, should there be any, between the in-game voice as well as, how it is in TeamSpeak, just because it has been that long since I've used it. But, I don't think this speaks ill of how the Overwatch League views what's readily available to them within the game. And, just being able to set up these private servers, especially when they are going to be traveling quite frequently, and knowing that they don't have to deal with server maintenance or anything like that, is, pretty welcomed by the Overwatch League part.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's got to be welcomed by the Overwatch League part. This is just definitely something, yeah, that they have to be like, gimme. That's how I imagine Jeff Kaplan being like, gimme. I'm very, so this is jumping ahead a little. I was just thinking, I'm like, our next topic after this is, like, this is probably the first time we've ever had Pornhub as a link in the show notes.
Actually, yes.
Like, it's like, oh, Dextero, OverwatchLeague.com,
yeah.
Twitlonger, Pornhub. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about Pornhub.
I mean, you're just learning more about, like, the general audience. But anyways, guys.
I'm learning about the most viewed verified amateur model right now.
But we're not here to talk about that. We're talking about how Overwatch is not, in fact, dead. Ed, okay? Like, much like World of Warcraft, the death of Overwatch has been so exaggerated. And if you need proof, well, just look no further than the insights that you can gain in the year in review over on Pornhub. So, this is not the first time we've covered not safe for work material on the podcast. Probably won't be the last. But it's important to note that Overwatch, in regards to popularity, at least on this specific site, actually regained the top spot in 2019 in the video game category, beating out games that were in the top 5, including Fortnite, which is still a weird one, because, like, there's only skins. There's, like, not actual characters, like, whatever. Pokemon, which, you know, like, there's a new game out, you know, a lot of excited about, you know, the new character models, all that good stuff. Minecraft, I don't understand that one either, Ed. That was another one. And also another BR game in Apex Legends, rounding out the top 5. Now, if you're wondering, well, what exactly are people searching for on this in regards to the video game characters? Overwatch, out of the top 10, has 5 characters who have D.Va coming in at 3rd, Mercy, number 6, the Antichrist, causing all that havoc, causing players to fly in May at 7, Ashe at 9, and Brigitte in that 10 spot. But I feel like, regardless of what is on this list, Ed, there was one thing that was more telling to me than anything. And that was the distinct lack of League of Legends anywhere on here. So it just comes to show, League is dead, and Overwatch is still kicking.
I'm very confused by this whole page. Like, I did not know that the most popular time to look for these videos is at midnight.
Right.
That is the most popular time. And the average age is 36 years old. I actually would have guessed younger.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this is... How is Super Mario number 4? Like, Zelda number 1? Okay.
I mean, Breath of the Wild was pretty big.
Let's see here. I'm looking at some... I don't
He's
know
on the
who that
insights
is.
page, guys. Don't worry.
Sure, I am on the inside.
There's only, you know, charts.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. Oh, see here, they they have a part that changes how much you look up based on the weather. So the polar vortex XXX percent change in state traffic January 30th to 31st compared to the average. Oddly enough, Wisconsin is up 12%. It's like we're in more. I don't know. This is actually a very intriguing website.
I don't know if I actually linked that one in the show notes.
I don't know if you should.
You know, for reasons. I know, like, my manager and I were actually discussing this earlier today. I was like, because, like, he was confused about, like, some of the search results.
Who's Bella Delphine?
She was.
I have no idea who that is. She is very popular.
She was a cosplayer, she was the one who was selling her gamer bathwater.
Oh yeah,
that's her. But anyways, Ed, let's
leave out the plug. That just sounds wrong.
As you continue to learn new things about the adult entertainment community, let's jump into some esports news. While you try not to continue to learn new things about all these different categories. So
Teen Titans. Who's looking up Teen Titans? There's literally teens. All right, let's move on.
It's implied in the name.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, let's.
We could probably talk for the next hour on, like, what is Ed learning on this Pornhub site?
So there's a
do we need a special disclaimer for this show? I feel we do now. Disclaimer.
That depends
if you
classify that word as explicit.
Oh, it can't be explicit.
I mean, you. This is also a website.
If it's in the dictionary, it's okay to say.
This is from the same website who had voiceover for bee videos to try to stop the prevention of, like, bee extinction. So, like, every time you would view one of these videos specific to
that
category, which was basically bees pollinating flowers.
See, that's just good for the environment. Pornhub saves lives.
Essentially.
Yeah, that's how I saw
Well,
it.
as they continue to break barriers, so was the Open Division with the tournament that they did label Breaking Barriers, which happened over this past weekend. By the way, it's also back this weekend. So they got another one going on. So this was a tournament that was an open invite. We had a huge turnout, and I know, Ed, you've had a lot going on. You didn't really get to catch too much of this. But we had some pretty notable names appearing in this tournament. You had a lot of big streamers, a lot of big Overwatch personalities, ex-Overwatch League pros. So, you got to see Elk. You had, like, XQC, Sleepy, I'm37, Kefri, Harblu, Drake and Custa were on the same team together, which, more on that later, because they're also going to be on a different team. But you had like Askin, Redshell, you had so many big names involved in this tournament. And because of that, the viewership for Breaking Barriers was absolutely massive. I know at times Harblu was having over 10,000 viewers in his stream alone during the event. So you had all these streamers coming in, they were streaming on, like a 3-minute delay. So a lot of eyes were on a Tier 2 tournament this past weekend. You even had, like, casters jumping into the fold. So I know ZP and Hexagrams were casting the second day of the tournament. So, kind of, like, getting back to, like, the old school Gosu Gamers weeklies, back in beta days. So that was pretty cool to see. And the amount of highlights that we saw, both on Twitch and just being posted on, Reddit, was, like, through the roof, like, so much more than what we are used to seeing from, like, really any contenders match leading up to this point. So, going back, in the past, they had Pro Pugs, which is basically nixed by the Overwatch League office. So a lot of people are looking at this as a potential replacement or just off-season offerings in regards to, a tournament. Now, obviously, with this being an open invite, you had open division teams, you had contenders teams, you had a lot of stream teams, a lot of meme teams, kind of like everything and anything in between. So, what do you think a tournament like this does in regards to the growth of the competitive scene for the Path to Pro?
I mean, I don't think it does anything for the growth of the competitive scene. What I do think it does is it brings more attention back into, like, the Overwatch League and stuff like that during the off season. So, like, as a whole, the competitive scene isn't, like, growing, but what it does is it pulls viewers in because they're desperate for competitive, like, professional Overwatch. Now, granted, we didn't really get a lot of professional Overwatch. We did get some, but, like, a lot of it, like you said, was stream teams, meme teams, just people having fun. It's what you get when you charge $0 for a tournament and you have a prize pool. You know what I mean? So this is it was great for Overwatch. It was great for the Overwatch League. I don't think it did anything for Tier 2, Tier 3, anything like that. Just because yes, you had these contenders teams in there playing and whatnot, but you like, if you combine a Tier 2 tournament and you kind of go at it as a Tier 2 tournament, and you're like, okay, we're going to bring in British Hurricane, we're going to bring in Atlanta Academy, and then we're going to bring in this meme team, this streamer team, like, it kind of devalues that. But it does bring the viewers in who are desperate for more Overwatch.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, let's be real, without the Overwatch League, Overwatch itself is dying. I'm not saying, like, it's going to die.
Well, like, the viewership is definitely decreased.
Yes.
Because you're basically relying on new content, which, I mean, we'll all be honest, isn't necessarily on a quick release schedule right now.
What? No, it's not. But it's definitely something that just kind of brings people's attention back to the game.
Mm-hmm.
So this was great. This was awesome. If I didn't have my family's Christmas this past weekend, I would have been watching this the whole weekend, but I was gone for my Christmas. Um, and, I wasn't able to watch it. And I'm not going back and watching VODs of a tier 2 tournament that had meme teams and whatnot. But yeah, it's awesome. I honestly hope next time they do this, they don't
This weekend.
they don't allow these contenders teams to partake. Personally, like, if you have all these teams, like, people were not tuning in to watch the British Hurricane. People were tuning in because they heard Jake Custer were on the same team. You know what I mean? That's why they're tuning in. And that means more to the Overwatch League and Overwatch as a whole than having a bunch of contenders teams play against some stream teams.
I mean, to be fair, Ed, it's not like there were a massive amount of contenders teams.
No. There
wasn't.
It was just a few, but the winner of it was.
Yeah, both.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, you want Kefri going on a 4-hour rant afterwards about cheaters.
Yeah,
like
all the accusations. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
just Kefri things. That's normal.
Yeah, that's what you want to see, and that is what's gonna get. You want more Overwatch sponsored stuff like this, like, because as soon as they announced it, they were not planning on Hex and ZP casting this, but they did. Like, I don't think a lot of people were expecting, like, to have professional casters, but everyone wanted a piece of it because this is the first Overwatch League content that they've been interested in since the Overwatch League truly was ended. So it'll be fun, and I'm gonna miss it this weekend too because I'm moving.
Mm-hmm. Womp womp.
And then I fly to Florida on Sunday, so I can't really.
Poor you.
Yeah, poor me.
Mm-hmm.
It is 4 degrees out in Wisconsin right now, and I'm going to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Screw all of you.
Now, it is important to note that Breaking Barriers was the first tournament to be played on the current live patch, of course, that being patch 1.43 for Winter Wonderland. But, both of the finals basically came down to an open division team going up against a contenders team. So none of the meme or stream teams made it to the finals in either regard, but they got pretty consistently like top 8 in the tournament on both NA and EU. Now, with that being said, in regards to what we were seeing in regards to the meta for any sort of insight, we were still seeing quite a bit of double barrier, which was still Orisa and Sigma. In regards to supports, we saw quite a bit of Baptiste, kind of taking center stage there, just, due to the recent changes. His damage throughput is absolutely absurd, so, there was a lot of, Baptiste and Zenyatta, quite a bit of, Anna paired with Mercy, but for DPS, it was kind of like this mixture primarily of Mei and Hanzo for your primary DPS. But we did see quite a bit of, Pharah. There were a couple, dive comps running, Wrecking Ball, Pharah Tracer. So, there were, some double projectile DPS, but a lot of Mei and Hanzo being the mainstays. So, might give some insight on, what Overwatch League players in particular to keep an eye on going into 2020. Assuming we don't get another balance patch that's going to be played at that point. But it was cool seeing a ton of McCree too, just due to the popularity of Pharah being played as well. So it at least felt like we were getting enough of a variety in regards to what we were seeing, and with something that is open invite, I think that also kind of aids into that as well.
Yeah, it's cool to see changes like that. I think a lot of people are upset that we're not seeing more change in the tank line, but it's a different tank line than what you're used to seeing. It's not the same Orisa Sigma that you're used to seeing. So what people really want is it's less so much about most people could care less about what tanks are the meta. But they want to see variety in DPS because that's what people love to watch. They love to watch. Nobody's like, I love Mercy play. Mercy play is amazing. I'm gonna follow that the whole time. Like that's just not the thing. People follow the DPS. So any tank line that can offer a variety of DPS heroes is a good meta to have. So, like, yes, you would get Pharah, but then you'd get the counter with McCree. McCree, we haven't seen in forever. Like, you start to see May, you start to see Reaper, you start to see Hanzo, less so much Widowmaker, I think. And it's that if you have a rotation of 6-7 different DPS heroes, who cares what the tanks are and who cares what the support are? People want to watch the DPS players. So I don't know. I like it, but it's also not the actual pro teams playing, which is a whole different, bundle to unwrap. Like pro players, they play in a different mentality. Like they play differently than what we think. Like the reason Widowmaker sometimes is a lot in the meta for them is because they make Widowmaker work with the team rather than just plug and play. No, you need to have the team work around the Widowmaker.
Yeah,
and they do that.
It seemed like Open Division were running more of the dive comps with the Pharah. The contenders teams that were playing were more the Hanzo double barrier setups. But in regards to tournaments, I do want to note this really quick. There was another tournament coming up that was... I'm trying to remember what they called it. It was like... It was involving, like, them forcing, like, old metas to happen during the tournament, and I don't know if they were, like, switching up with, like, every round or anything like that, but, like, I thought that was a unique idea in regards to running a tournament. But, there were teams out there that were trying to force, like, old-school dive. It didn't really work. It was cool to see, but, like, you always have those people that are like, I just really want dive to come back, and then, they wonder, like, why it doesn't happen. And then you get to see it firsthand, and then they're like, oh, that's why.
That is why dive doesn't work anymore. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens when we get the actual pro players out there.
But I would not be surprised if it is double barrier Hanzo.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
And Baptiste. Paired with whatever X-Healer. So, outside of that, we've had a couple of sign-ins here this past week. The first of them was a leak on an official Overwatch League team social media in China, that being Weibo. And this was from the Chengdu Hunters, who revealed that they had signed a new main tank player. So basically what happened was, there was this picture taken that had a ton of different player names on it. Basically telling players to, make sure that, you're turning in your cell phone before you enter practice. And then it had a bunch of the names written down on the cards, and among those names, you had a teen who had played for Hong Kong Attitude, as well as LGE Hua, and Nova Monster Shield. He's also been on the Taiwanese team in regards to the Overwatch World Cup. And, what's interesting about this, Ed, is the fact that this particular signing would bring Hunters up to 3 main tanks on the roster. Of course, they have Main, who, is forcing Wrecking Ball pretty much the majority of the season. You have Chi Ren, who saw a little bit of play, not a whole lot. But, should this sign-in be officially announced, which, we're expecting it to because it was on social media from them, they would be the only team in the league to have 3 main tanks on the roster. Now, that's not to say that we haven't seen teams heavily invested in one particular role. Heck, we have teams, quite a few teams actually, that have 5 DPS. We've had teams that had 3 main supports at various points as well. But the hero pool for Atin is pretty much identical to Chi Ren. So, do you feel like this is more of a sign that maybe Main is going to be more of a specialist now, rather than the Hunters trying to force Wrecking Ball the majority of the time?
I think they realized they tried to force Wrecking Ball last season, and while it did work at times, it eventually just didn't pan out for them. They couldn't force it any longer.
Yeah, it was middling success.
Yes. So I think they kind of realize they can't just force that down people's throats. And they need to have a backup plan in case like they need to do something like that. And that's what this is for. You know, they may still try and make Hammond work in like a two tank system, but I don't know if it's for them. Like you get Hammond Orisa comp going. Something like that.
Yeah, probably the Pharaoh Tracer combo, I would imagine. In this
Yeah,
case.
so it's something like that. Or Pharaoh McCree, because you do have, Leave over there, who's decent at the McCree, some might
I
say.
mean, there's a few decent Chinese McCrees.
Yes. But I don't I'm not gonna say this is gonna spell the end of Ameng, but it definitely doesn't look good for Ameng, or it definitely is putting him on the hot seat. Too. He really, I think for him to not feel hot in the hot seat, his Hammond play needs to go up a notch, which is saying a lot because he's the best hamster in the league. His hamster play needs to go up a notch to prevent people from coming in to play more of a meta tank line.
Yeah, and the thing about this too is, like, if Wrecking Ball in this situation is used as more of an off tank, regardless of where Wrecking Ball is, it basically means that there are going to be three people fighting at one specific tank position. Whether it's at main tank or off tank. So, this doesn't just impact, a main. It doesn't just affect Chi-Chirin or Atin. It affects Elsa and Leityan as well. So it's a pretty crowded field for the hunters on that front. So I don't know how it's gonna pan out. Like, I would imagine main will be more a specialist at Wrecking Ball to be used in those sort of dive comps. Outside of that, like, I have a feeling like to probably just pass the torch off to one of the other main tanks that are on the roster at this point. But, it's just a matter of, like, do they prefer, a little bit more of a veteran presence from Chi-Chirin, or do they go with Atin, based on just the fact that he's a new face? But I would imagine he'll probably be seeing less play compared to the other two going into 2020, but that remains to be seen. But that was not the only signing that we did have this week, as we had the LA Gladiators also making a new sign-in to their DPS line, and they have turned to former Team Envy DPS player Jaru. So this is someone who began his career on a very troubled team in regards to the owner in Toronto Esports. That was back in 2017, where he would later go on to sign with Envision Esports that following year, which was probably his more lengthier tenure that I can recall. So after that, he was with Envy. And, Envy actually did pretty good in the NA West contenders. They won Season 1, they won Season 2, and he's basically going to be a third DPS option on the Gladiators. So you got, Bird Ring, you got Mirror. So, it's still a relatively questionable DPS line for a lot of people out there. Just because, like, a lot of people are going to look at this and feel like they're not going to be able to match, maybe some of the other flexibility that we're seeing from some of these deeper pools. Because, you do have a lot of teams that have, 4 or even 5 DPS in their current lineups. But in regards to his DPS pool, this is a projectile specialist. He's more so known for his Genji and Pharah, but he's also played Tracer, Sombra, and a little bit of Doomfist, but I do not expect him to play Doomfist on this roster over Mirror in this case, because, like, he's definitely been more of an impact on that particular role, and Jaru's Doomfist has not looked impressive in contenders. But I do want to note that DPay mentioned that the Gladiators starting the year will be at 10 players. They're going to leave a little bit of room. And obviously, like, adding more players also aids into the logistics of the travel, all of that stuff. So not everyone's going to be at 12 players for 2020. But it will leave them a little bit of wiggle room should they look to pursue any sort of mid-season sign-ins. But, Ed, if what we saw this past weekend is any indicator of what to expect. I would assume like Jarvis gonna come in and he's just gonna pick up the main role on this particular team, but with how much the landscape has kind of like shifted in regards to the LA Gladiators, like, do you feel better about this DPS rotation now, knowing that they do have another option, or do you feel like there still needs to be more work put in, or is it like just too early to tell at this point?
I think it's too early to tell. Like, this is a very sneaky DPS lineup. Because you have two guys that you don't really know how they're going to compete in the pro level. Like, yes, they have been fairly successful in the contenders level. You don't know how they're going to perform. And then you have you have the Spitfires #2 guy coming in to play, and it's just one of those things where I don't know if Birdring can be the carry DPS. That's going to be the biggest thing. I don't have questions about Mirror, and I don't really have questions about Jaro. I think they can both be very good DPS. You need that one kind of semi-carry DPS. Now, Birdring could very well be that. He just got overshadowed by Prophet, and he wasn't really able to shine, which is something that could be completely viable in reasoning. Like, you weren't allowed to be the carry hero because you had a carry hero on the team already. So it'll be very interesting. I think it's kind of a coin flip. I think this is a good enough DPS lineup with what they have put together with this team. Like, with that arguably the best support lineup in Overwatch League. Top 3 for sure. And that tank line of OGE and Space, I mean, that's a very good tank lineup. I think their DPS lineup is good enough to put them into contention. It's a matter of if they're going to be top 3 with this DPS lineup, or if they're going to be more in the 6, 7, 8 range with this lineup. And I don't see them falling much farther below that.
Well, this is a team who back-to-back seasons have finished in the top 6. So they're going to have pretty lofty expectations to match or even surpass what we've seen from the Gladiators here these past 2 seasons.
Yeah, and let's be real. There, as much as people love Hydration and Surefour, there's a reason they let them go. Like, maybe they just didn't. Maybe the team performed well and made them look better than they actually are.
I mean, Surefour has technically always kind of been that player who performs good, and he can play a number of roles, but he might not be, like, top 5 at anything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and Hydration wouldn't even be the top. I don't think would be even the top DPS on this team right now.
Mm-hmm.
If he was still on the team, he's a kind of a role player. Now, Decay, on the other hand, Decay is still pissed about that.
It's kind of hard to rank.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to rank, but I think Decay was their best DPS player last year. It's just like, I don't think their DPS took as big of a hit as a lot of people may think. Mm-hmm. And then they got better on the tank line. So your DPS went down a little, your tank line went up a lot. The team probably got a little better overall because, I mean, you didn't do anything with the support. You still got Shaz and Big Goose. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do.
So, of course, it wouldn't be an Overwatch League offseason week without the retirement bug striking again. And, this kind of ties in with, our next thing, so I'm just going to bundle these together before I throw it back to you. So, this week we had the LA Valiant main support Custa announcing that he has officially retired from the Overwatch League as a player, in this case. And this is someone who initially entered the league as part of the Dallas Fuel, where, eventually he'd get traded to the LA Valiant during the 2018 season, where he took over the main support position. Now, of course, this past season, there was a lot of question marks about the Valiant and that rocky start, where they went 0-7, living up to the Win Zero meme of their Twitch emote. But, Custa sat out for Kuki to start at main support on this team during the GOATS meta. And, of course, there was a whole meme about Custa being too big-brained to play in the current meta. And, we had a lot of fun with that back when that was happening and just wondering, well, where the heck is he? But with the Valiant, Custa did win one of the stage titles. That was in Stage 4 back in 2018. And he did win the Dadis Avelka Award this past season here as well. So now a lot of people are just wondering what is the face of the Valiant going to be going into 2020? Because you really don't have a lot of faces that have been around that team for a while. I mean, the most tenured person on that roster currently is KSF.
I mean, yeah, it's KSF is probably going to be the face of your team. It's him, I think, or McGravy. It's definitely something that's going to come into question. I don't think anybody is expecting this team to be awesome. I don't think anybody is expecting this team to finish outside of the bottom 5 going into next season. But, sometimes to make a profit, you have to do stuff like this. Kind of sit back and see how things pan out and go from there. I just don't know how the Valiant are going to do. How the Valiant are going to do well. Mm-hmm. We know they're going to be not good, but how bad are they going to actually be? And my guess is pretty darn bad.
They should just compete in breaking barriers.
Right? And I don't even know if they'd win that. So, I don't know. Custa retiring, I think it was he's, as sad as it is to say, he's a little too old for the league. He's been around for too long. And these old farts at 23, 24 aren't really, aren't really able to compete, or they don't want to deal with that anymore. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see how the Valiant do and see how Custa does in his new role.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does have a pretty big impact in regards to Rain. For the Valiant, because
yes.
all of a sudden he's the starting main support at this point, so there is that.
Yeah, we had talked about this last week, and I mean, obviously we didn't know Custa would not be available. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that if we would have known, we would have had a different discussion about Rain instead of is he going to start or is he not going to start?
Yes.
Type of situation.
Your number's up, kid. So, go. Put him in.
Go. Red team, go. But, yeah, it's, Rain is another one of those sneaky players who we don't know how they're going to be able to perform. They could be awesome. Rain could be awesome. He was just on a crap team last year with the Mayhem for the most part. Mm-hmm. And then he goes to the Valiant. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
Well, as you had mentioned, Custa does have a new role, as does Jake. Both had announced their retirements as professional players, but both of them are still staying in the Overwatch League, and they have basically just signed with the talent team, so they're on the broadcast team at this point. So you have Custa being part of the analyst group, so you'll see him at the desk, and then Jake will be casting Overwatch League matches. We don't know who his partner is going to be, but, I would expect more talent announcements here, coming up in probably a few weeks, I would imagine. Seasons, getting closer. It's still a little bit of ways off, but, you would imagine, sometime in January, you're probably going to hear a lot more details on that end. But, in both cases, for Custa and Jake, this is not unfamiliar territory for either of them. Custa has been at the desk multiple times, whether it was for interviews or whether it was being on the broadcast, during things like the talent takedown. And of course, Jake, no stranger to casting. Heck, he did it at the Overwatch World Cup this year. So, he's really giddy about having an opportunity to cast, and now he's going to get to do it on an even, bigger stage at this point. And, knowing the league is moving to that geolocation in 2020, obviously the talent team was going to have to grow. Now it's just a matter of how exactly are they going to be going about doing broadcasting. Now, Custa did mention in his stream that it seems like the analysts, so like the desk segments, all of that will be held in LA. So they're not going to be traveling.
have one central location. Like,
right.
Let's throw it back to blah blah blah, back in the studio type of thing.
Right. It's just a matter of, is that going to be the same case in regards to the caster duos, or are they going to be traveling? That we don't know yet. I haven't heard anyone on stream mentioning whether that's the case. But even in regards to coaches, we know the coaches, or some of them at least. I know Pack-10 mentioned he is going to be doing remote coaching during a week, but he's still going to be traveling with the team for the actual matches. So, it might actually be a healthy mix of being remote and then also traveling in some cases. So we got to see where that split is going to be, or whether or not the broadcast side of the thing will just be centralized based out of LA.
Yeah, it's right now you could say anything and it'd be it sound plausible, because we just don't know. That's the thing, we have no idea what's going on. We can make all these assumptions, and these assumptions are probably wrong.
Yeah,
I would assume that the studio, or where Custer will be, is one of those places that's going to stay in LA. But I also don't think that the casters will be stuck in LA. I think the casters will be on location, because then you have that weird time delay, and
that's true.
They may not know what's going on. So I don't know, but they could start getting more casters that travel with the teams. We just don't know.
Or you could have casters just based in certain regions too.
Yeah, exactly. Probably numerous casting teams, because you don't want the same casting team to cast all the games in each region, and so it will definitely be an interesting thing to see how they do it. I like you said, I expect there to be an announcement later this week, or next week, or the week after. We have to know something soon.
Yeah, I would say probably January would be the safe bet.
Yeah, probably beginning of January, because at that point we're a month away from it, and that might be a bit far for them to tell us what's going on.
Absolutely. So, of course, 2020 also brings the return of Overwatch Contenders, which actually starts up here pretty damn quickly, quicker than the Overwatch League on that front. So, not long before we have more competitive Overwatch to watch at the Tier 2 level, outside of this weekend's Breaking Barriers tournament. So, as we look into the new year, we are awaiting the return of Contenders in January, and it does have a few new rules in place here. So for starters, North America is back to a one region. It is no longer North America West and North America East. So, that might have something to do with the fact that a ton of NA Academy teams bit the dust. It had everything to do with that.
Boom.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not split like it was in 2019. There's also a little bit of a smaller total prize pool available by $500,000, I think is what it was, because it was $3 million and now it's down to $2.5 million, and of course that's spread throughout all the regions.
But is the reason for that kind of because they went from one NA region to so they went from two NA regions to one?
I'll have to see what the breakdown was. was, because I know the breakdown of the pay wasn't even across the regions, because some of them definitely got the short end of the stick.
Yeah. So like it may just be like people may just be like, oh, they're cutting contenders' payment. No, they may just be, getting rid of it because, well, there's one less region to deal with, essentially.
They cut the payment so they can pay Open Division like $450.
And oh wait, no, they're actually going to be paying them cash.
It's actual cash. Whoa, that's assuming that gets processed.
Very true.
I mean, let's be real. So outside of that, there is a pretty big change in regards to Regent locks in contenders. So those have been eliminated from the competition. So that could definitely mean a lot of things for the NA side of things. It means we're gonna have a lot more Korean talent back into the fold, taking opportunities away from NA players. So, sorry guys, like, kind of sucks. But it is what it is. But in regards to like the past, like with the region lock, basically how it was in the past was that teams were only allowed 3 non-resident players. So I don't know if this was like a way to compensate that, but Overwatch League teams now do have the option to have additional 2-way players. So basically went from 2 to now you're able to have up to 4. And of course, with that, that player is on the roster or taking up a position on both the academy team as well as the main roster. I can't imagine there's going to be too many teams that are going to go all the way up to 4 in that case. But, along with these changes, we also have the new point-based system that they are implementing. So they're shying away from, like, that round-robin format that has been used in the past. And then we have, trials happening each season. We got 4, basically like 4 tournaments per season here. So that's at trials and also at contenders. So, you still have the trial teams, you have the open division teams have the opportunity to be promoted. But in regards to, reaching the playoffs, that's going to be filled by the teams who score the most points in regards to, earning high place finishes. So basically how this is going to work is, let's say you take, a tournament and get first place. You get 100 points. If you get second, you're coming away with 50, and then third and fourth, you get 25. And then I know it scales, lower than that. So, like, even if you're finishing in, like, 7th or 8th place, you're still going to be earning points, but obviously, you've got a lot of climbing to do at that point compared to, teams that were top 4 in that case. But, for trial teams, it's worth noting, like, the points that they earn is not going to carry over because, they're promoted at that point, so they're clawing their way back from 0. But, we have a seeding tournament coming up here that starts January 6th for the contenders teams. And then, we have the double elimination tournament taking place over several weeks. And then trials isn't until, like, the end of February. Now, obviously, Ed, you and I, we don't follow Tier 2 too closely. Like, it's more seeing what ATL Academy is doing. I mean, I'll be honest. Seeing how Runaway is doing primarily for me. Just keeping up with that. Just getting a sense of, the Korean talent that we can expect to see sign mid-season or being eligible for, the upcoming season after that. But what are your thoughts on just the general format changes that we're seeing introduced, and how do you feel the lack of region locks is going to impact the scene as a whole?
Well, I mean, the lack of region locks is nothing new. That was implemented fairly recently. If you remember what happened to XL2 Academy, like it was one of those things where they basically dumped their entire Korean roster because they had to, and then they had pity signings almost at that point.
And it would be no one that they would actually use on the main roster, too.
Exactly. So, like, that is not surprising. And to go down from 2 North American divisions down to 1, again, also not surprising with all the teams that dropped out. But like you said, it's just one of those things where it's not as appealing to me as it kind of used to be. Um, because you have all these situations where teams are disbanding, players just never get signed. You have players on the teams that you may not see for 3 years. Like you feel less invested in it than you previously did, and a lot of it is also you just don't know some of the names that. Like, yeah, if you really follow it, you start to get these fans of certain players. But like when Contenders started in season 1, we knew a lot of the players because you had been following the Overwatch League for a long time. Well, you follow it for a long time now, but the people you knew in Contenders are up in the pros, and now it's just a bunch of no names. Like every time somebody gets called up, I'm just like, I don't know who this is. Like if it's anybody Korean, I'm just like, I'm gonna have to ask Tony about this person because I just have no idea, and that's just kind of the way things are now, which is fine because like that's how like tier 2 should probably work in anything really. And I'm just worried that people are going to see this as, okay, let's just get a full Korean team, and every Contenders team is just going to be a full Korean team, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it could be bad. So I don't know. I like that they're still tinkering with it and they haven't finalized anything. I think that's the big bright side to take away from this is nothing's finalized. They're still working on it. And if they're still working on it, good. Mm-hmm. So that's my feeling.
Yeah, I mean, this basically like reflects what we've been seeing with the Overwatch League too. Like, if they don't like the way that things are operating, they're not afraid to implement change. So like, I would totally expect we'd see like another sweep of changes happening, whether it is in between seasons, or tournaments in this case, or in between seasons after that. Remains to be seen. But for me, like, it's not going to detract from me like watching the Korean side of it, just because it's not going to really be impacting them as much as some of the other regions in play. But I do want to see if that means that for some of these other academy teams, at least the ones that are still standing, that does mean we will see more of an influx of Korean talent on that front. But NA going back to 1 seems probably like the best course of action, since we've lost essentially 4 academy teams at this point over the past year. But regardless, I'm looking forward to seeing the return of Contenders. I'm looking. It's interesting, like, knowing that they're gonna be like alternating between like, okay, this week we got Contenders, this week we're running trials matches, and then they're going like a lot of like flipping back and forth. So
yeah,
I want to see if that extra week off or that extra week of practice is going to bring the overall quality of matches up across the board. Because, like, just grinding every week, does have, its downsides too. So I just want to see how the gameplay aspect is going to be affected based off of the format changes that we're seeing here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see these format changes because, like, yeah, a lot of things could change and maybe people will be more refreshed or whatnot. It's like you said, it's good for them to test stuff out like this, like see how it works, because we want to get the best talent out there as imaginable and the best matches and whatnot. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm just really excited for anything regarding competitive Overwatch at this point.
Even if it's only a temporary view.
Yes, even if it's only temporary.
Until February.
Mm-hmm. Where they give us all our Valentine's Day presents of the Overwatch League. Yay.
So, are we assuming there's going to be some very cheesy Valentine segment involved at some point?
Oh, probably.
I mean, I feel like it's going to happen.
Uh, featuring Costa and Jake.
Probably.
I can see it.
I mean, you got to get
At
the new
least,
talent involved.
at least Costa.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, with that being said, I do know like you are going to be guessing on another podcast here
Yes,
shortly.
I'm going to be on
so
an Apex podcast.
I want to give you at least a little bit of a break in between. So let's go ahead, Ed. Let's close out the show for tonight. So if you guys want to help us out, best thing to do, head over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. Write a review too. Like we appreciate that because we do read it on the air.
We haven't gotten one in a while.
It's been
written
a while.
One.
Like I do know that someone updated the review, but just like changed the word in recently. But like that was it. But regardless, like we're always looking for ways to improve the show. Let us know how we're doing. Leave us some feedback, and yeah, we'll definitely read it on air. We'll get back to you, all that good stuff. If you are looking for additional content, of course, we got Overwatch Recall. That's a listen of Overwatch content, whether it is Variety Overwatch, Overwatch League, Path to Pro, all that good stuff. That is on our website at owlnshow.com/OWRecall. And then every Sunday, we do the weekly recall, which is our podcast listen from all the prior week's episodes. So for more, visit on Twitter at OWRecall. And, I do have to give a quick shout out in regards to, someone that's close to us who, we work closely with this person in regards to podcast directories. And I want to shout out Ro from Realm Maintenance, who did just celebrate episode 300. Which,
Crazy.
if you guys haven't listened to episode 300, you guys have got to go back and listen to that. Some pretty big news on the podcast front for Realm Maintenance specifically, but they are moving to Warcraft Radio. So they've basically, they've gone there. They're going to continue to have all of their shows over on Warcraft Radio now, and their podcast directory also moved there. But there was a really great interview also from a pretty notable name in the WoW community, so I highly recommend you go check that out. But I do want to say thank you to Ro for all the work he's put in, over the years, and just the level of planning that went into episode number 300. There was some really touching stuff to really open that particular show. Now, outside of that, guys, if you want to support us, you can do so, a couple of ways. We do stream on Twitch, so any Twitch Prime subs, any Tier 1 subs on Twitch, greatly appreciated, and really any little bit helps us. We also have a Patreon, where we have tiers starting at just $1 a month. So for more info, visit us at patreon.com/OWLnetwork, where you too can join the likes of our master and above patrons in Blazing Bob, Brendan, Jay-Z, Owl, and Kesha in helping our network grow. But of course, Ed, with that being said, we also have a number of ways how our listeners, our community can get a hold of us. So please let them know how they can do that.
All right, so you can reach us through email at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. We are on Twitter, and that's at hndoverwatch. We do have a website, and the website is owlnshow.com. So go over there. We are on YouTube as well at youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. We are on Discord at discord.me/OWLNshow. So definitely come join us over there. We are streaming live on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLNshow. We are a Twitch affiliate, so come help support the show by subscribing to our channel and earn our network emoticon. We do podcast and stream pretty regularly. So Monday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, we have the Overwatch League Network. We have OWL by the Numbers is Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. That will be coming up again shortly. Now that the league will be coming back up rather quickly here. So we're going to be starting that up again. And then the show Heroes Never Die is Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. Host streams, when available, run on a flex schedule. So be sure to follow us in Discord, Twitter, all that fun stuff to see when we actually do go live. And as Totem said, we are on Patreon at patreon.com/OWL Network. You can reach me personally on Twitter at Edinar Overwatch. And then you can see me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Edinar. And also, we have another show. We have a new show. Tavern Tales, our Hearthstone Battlegrounds podcast. We are not live streaming that, but we do record that on Thursdays to come out on Friday. So definitely go check that out if you're a fan of the Hearthstone Battleground scene, which you should be because it's free and it's fun. So, Totem, where can they find you?
Well, I'm on Twitter. That is at TotallyDrunkCTR. I'm also on Twitch Monday through Thursday at twitch.tv/TotallyDrunk. And in regards to podcast news, guys, for starters, I did guest on Fantasy Overwatch Underground. That is hosted by Dolky. So, we were talking, daily fantasy this week. Had a really good time there. So go check out that episode. Ed's guesting tonight on Droppin' Spicy with...
the Apex Legends podcast. I mash those buttons.
Yeah, a good friend of ours who
Yes.
was in the Overwatch scene, and Kinder. Also on that show, so go check that out. After the show, assuming they stream live. I think they do.
We're not streaming live tonight.
You ruined it, Ed.
Yeah, and Kinder's not going to be on the show.
What?
I'm guessing
That's
in
0 for
place of
2.
Kinder.
Ah.
Yes.
I'm gonna yell at him later, just for that.
Yep.
Because I specifically told you to call him something. And now it's not gonna happen. But anyways, in regards to the network, next week, obviously it's a holiday week, so there is no new recording next week on the network. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, it means there's no Heroes Never Die, there's no Overwatch League Network, but in its place, released on Christmas Eve, we have our network Christmas special, so be sure to check that out. We hope you guys enjoyed. It's always a really fun, episode.
It is a lot
together.
of fun.
And, that was a new thing that we started last year, so I highly recommend, if you haven't, go back, take 9 minutes or 10 minutes, however long it was, go listen to the 2018 special in prep for the 2019 to just get a general idea. But that will be dropping on Christmas Eve. So with that being said, I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday. And of course, we will see you guys back here shortly for our next recording, whenever that may happen to be.
Yay!
But, hopefully everyone's on the right list.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have
Christmas reference.
Or, it could also... People might be on the ban list. You don't know. you don't know. So with that being said, guys, thank you again for joining us tonight on Heroes Never Die, episode 190. I've been your host, Tumbler Drunk, joined, as always, by the festive one himself, Edinar, still wearing his hat and all for the holidays, and we will see you guys back next episode. Take care and have a good night.
Have a good one, guys.